Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, and Scott, as they kick off this week's discussion.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. My name is Scott, and as always I'm joined by Philip over here.
Hello.
Shane over here.
Hoi hoi.
And our special guest today, our Herd's Choice winner from last week. He's chosen the book that we're going to be talking about today. It is Pete from Triple G Comics.
Alright, everybody alright?
Alright, good, thank you mate. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Excited to be here.
I can see you wearing your Nerd Herd hoodie.
Yes, it's nice to have
Thank you very
proof.
much.
I've got it on. Yeah.
Looks it looks brilliant. But you've been watching us for so long. We've been involved with you for so long, and it's actually awesome that we finally get to have you on. You've won a Herd's Choice. You've picked a very popular book, and we're really excited to talk about it. I nearly said my actual opinion then, a popular, I didn't say cool or bad, a popular book. But let's tell everyone what we are talking about today. We are talking about Stray Dogs from Image Comics, released in 2021, issues 1 to 5, written by Tony FLEECS, art by TRISH FORSTNER, and coloured by Brad Simpson. There we go, that's what we're going to be talking about today. A lot of people know about this book. There was massive hype when it came out originally, and I think it's a good choice to have on the Nerd Herd, to be honest. But Pete, as you are the special guest and you chose this book, would you please mind telling everyone what the book is about? And then we'll say hey.
Yeah, sure. So I'll read off the synopsis from the back. So it says, meet Sophie, a dog who can't remember what's happened. She doesn't know how she's ended up in the house. She doesn't recognize any of these other dogs. She knows something terrible has happened, but she just can't recall. Wait, where's her lady? And basically this story is, as I'm sure we're going to go into, is about a number of dogs in a house that are kind of discovering, as the story goes on, why they're there and what's happened to them to make them in this house.
Great. Nailed it. Thank you very much. Let's go ahead and say hey to everyone that's here or popped in. So we've got Martin. Eden all, hope you have a great show tonight. I'll have to watch it back later as I'm currently out at the moment. Great. Have a good night. See you later. James. Excelsior, fellow nerds. I'm really glad he's changed it from the yo into house. It's getting hard, that was. Highland G is here. Hey G. And we've got the Funky Games. Liam. Howdy ho. And we've got Past Point Comics as well. He literally just says, Peter! That's it. No hey.
Efren from over in San Diego.
Hello. There we go. So that's who we've got so far. Anyone else lurking around, do pop in and say hi. We're a nice bunch. But anyway, who should we start with? Who should we start with? Philip or Shane? Shane, kick us off, please. What did you think? What were your initial thoughts of the book?
My initial thoughts was why does Peter hate us, and why does Peter want me to cry, and why does Peter hate dogs? I enjoyed it for what it was. It's very sad. I don't enjoy animals being hurt, tortured. Like, I don't enjoy any of that. Like, I'm a horror fan, you know this. I love faces dropping from ceilings and blood and gore, as long as it's human. When it comes to animals, I am not okay with it. So I was glad that most of that was off screen. Like, you didn't see any of that. Yeah. It was just heavily implied. So I'm very thankful they could have gone for that route and they didn't. And I thought it was a really good confined story. It's set in the house. It's just from the dog's point of view. And I thought they did really, really well.
I have a question for Shane, if this is okay.
Okay.
If you were being chased by like an alligator and you're walking your dog, like would you not just throw your dog at the alligator so you can get more time to get away?
No.
Oh, okay. I would just me then.
I have a scar on my leg, okay, from when I was 8 years old, and I stepped in front of my dog when another dog attacked my dog. Okay, so I put myself between my dog and an attacking dog.
I think you're doing things wrong.
I've got a question for you. If you're walking along and you're being chased by an alligator and there was a pram nearby, would you throw the pram?
Is there a baby in the pram?
Yeah.
Take the baby out first.
There's a
Babies
chihuahua.
are easier to throw than prams, aren't they?
Oh dear me. There's a chihuahua in the pram. It's 2022. The chihuahua's in the pram. Throw the pram at the alligator. Save yourself.
I'd throw the
you know.
owner. Throw the owner of the pram at the alligator.
Shane brings up a really good point. There are some maybe very avid animal lovers in this community, so we are going to bring up a little trigger warning to say if this is a topic that's sensitive to you, then maybe don't watch. This
Can
is
I
heavily...
just
Go on.
reiterate as well that I've obviously asked this question, but I do not like to see harmed any living being, man, woman, child, or animals or dogs, except cats. I don't like cats.
Oh my god! All right, but what did you think of the book, Phil?
It's a weird one because it's quite clever, but quite simple. As in clever, like it's like okay, so it's like a serial killer, and it's like this could be an episode of like Criminal Minds. And you have the BAU coming in to investigate, but it's all from like a perspective of the dog, and obviously that's like the dogs are the pets of the people he's killed type of thing. So like it's a good way to tie it all in, but yet it was very simple, and it was a very speedy read, super quick, probably the quickest read I think I've ever read. To be honest.
It was kind of creepy when you realise that the dogs that he's keeping are like the dogs of the women he's murdered, and it's a really weird like trophy. They say like serial killers or whatever, they take things from their victims to remember them, I guess, whatever. But this is a really weird trophy to take. They take their pets.
He had a trophy room with all the stuff from his victims.
Oh
He
yeah,
had
that's
pictures
true.
of them, their clothes, and so like, but I mean, we don't know why he was killing these people.
No, we
Maybe
don't.
they were
Yeah,
abusing their animals, and he was actually killing them and saving the animals.
Yeah. See,
Maybe.
no, you can't make excuses for this because you love animals. I mean, this is why I mentioned Criminal Minds. Have you ever watched an episode of Criminal Minds? It's called the BAU, the Behavioral Analysis Unit. They have they profile a serial killer, and this profile would be this guy likes, I'm assuming, single women with pets, who he can maybe use his dogs to get to know them, like have that meet cute, and meet them and whatever else, and then they feel safe and he kills them. That's his profile.
But we don't see that. Like we say, he follows them, so he might see them abusing the animal, and so he kills them and takes the animal. We don't know what his motives are.
Well,
it could be either or.
But
So
then
you think he's the hero of the story, Shane?
No, not at all.
But then it's the animals obviously remember their owners and remember what happened, and they're not quite happy about it. So it's I think it's fair to say that didn't happen. He was just a serial killer and a psycho.
Okay. So Pete, you chose the book. Why? Why did you choose this book for the Nerd Herd?
So this is a book that I'd heard a lot being said about a couple of years back. Everybody was talking about it. And I got obsessive. Like I think a lot of people bought a lot of the covers because the art homages to horror movies are just stunning, absolutely stunning. And I got the book for Christmas. And I think I completely agree with what you said, Phil. It's an incredibly quick read. I read this in one sitting. I read the first chapter and I thought, not sure this is for me. The art style, things like that just wasn't really playing to us. And then all of a sudden, I just couldn't stop reading, and I just kept page after page. And it's one of the first books in a long time where I've really had that kind of stomach churning feeling, not wanting to turn. There's a bit in the book later on we'll talk about, I'm sure. I didn't want to turn the page because I kind of knew what we were going to see. And I just loved it. I liked that kind of feeling to it. I like a good horror story. I love animals. I defy anybody to read this and not get a bit choked up at points. And I think that's probably the thing for me. I can read, 100, 1,000 comic books and not feel anything. It's just a comic, right. It's a story. This actually made us stop and really feel something. It was like watching a good drama or a good, story. So yeah, I just loved it. And also, I mean, I'm sure you guys know this has been picked up by Robert Downey Jr.'s animation studio.
No.
So they're going to make a cartoon in the Disney style of this story
my
for
God.
adults, which I think will be amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
No,
speaking of how it looks, so the artist of this is Trish Forstner. If anyone doesn't know, she is also the artist for the My Little Pony stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a really interesting spin on like what to use her art style on.
Yeah.
You know, Tony FLEECS must have come up to her and gone, "I've got this really twisted horror story, but I want it to look all really, really cute." And I think you're the one for the job. And she said yes. You know, like I can imagine drawing My Little Pony over and over again can get a bit tiring, and you may want to change. So this might have been a really cool change of her, but in that style.
Not only does she want to change, she wants to kill those ponies, but can't. So this is her. This is her chance. She wants to
is her
torture
outlet.
those ponies. This is her venting. Like she wants to do horrible things to those ponies, and here's her chance.
Yeah, there is that classic episode of My Little Pony where she turns them all into glue, isn't there? That's a good one.
If you look really closely, when he feeds the dog in this, Phil, they are actually the My Little Ponies just ground up into meat and just put in.
That'll be
You can
a
see
good connection.
Sparkle Sunshine's in the first bowl, and then Rainbow Bright is in the second.
I'm not even shocked that you know the names of some ponies.
I made up. I don't know I know Rainbow Bright. I don't know the other one. That
You
was
said
made up.
Sparkle. I got this one.
Okay, Connie says hi. Sup, nerds? How you doing, Connie? Thank you for joining. James is also saying the loyalty of the dogs was written brilliantly until the truth was in front of their face, and the way they associated places with what the master said, almost childlike. Yeah, because everything was like one word, wasn't it? You know, master, food, outside, punishment, you know, and all that kind of thing. It was very cool. And Connie was saying it does have a very criminal minds energy as well, so she agrees with Phil there. Yeah, the art, yeah, it was very Disney, very like cutesy kind of style, but that just makes you have so much more empathy for the whole situation. And definitely when I can't remember his name now, Victor the Dalmatian, was it? When he was taking him outside and he was on the lead and he was like, you know, rubbing his face up on the owner's leg, and just that panel, and you're like, oh, that's so adorable. And then that happens like 2 or 3 panels later, and it is just heartbreaking. But to see that kind of cuteness and innocence, and then it goes to that, it just has a better impact on the reader.
It's like, as the reader, you think you're safe. You think this is cute. This is safe. Nothing's bad's going to happen. And of course, bad things very much do happen.
Why do we have that sense of security with a Disney style art when we know that Bambi's mother is murdered?
Yeah.
Disney, you know, Dumbo's mother is brutally beaten. In these Disney films start off with death and murder all the time. So why do we have this sense of security when we know bad things happen in Disney?
Absolutely.
It's so
Maybe that was in their mindset. They were thinking the exact same thing.
Yeah.
That they were going to, like, people have this sense of security that they're going to be safe with this, but they're not. So that's what they've done.
I think there's something about the artwork as well. It is very much cutesy, but there's so much emotion. So there's a point where I can't remember the dog's name, the one that's very supportive of him all the way through,
Earl.
and he finally kind of turns. And maybe I'm reading too much into it, but just looking into his eye, you can see the anger, but also it looks like he's about to burst into tears because of the read into it, the disappointment and the realization. I just think it's incredible for a My Little Pony-esque kind of artwork. It's incredible depth in it. I think it really surprised me.
Pete said that like a swear word. My Little Pony.
As if I read My Little Pony. I got 4 copies of issue 1, but you know.
Also, I think it was very clever because we have some situations in stuff we've read before where, you know, the artist is very good at, you know, drawing anything but humans. Like they can't draw faces or anything like that. So I'm wondering, you know, she's very good at drawing animals and stuff like that. But then you notice that you never see a face. Every single face is covered until like the very end when you're dealing with that car crash. But then they're all quite far away and small. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that really. Plus, it reminded me of the cartoon Cow and Chicken. Just having like the waist down view, like you never saw the waist up. Yeah, I think it was a good move, and it keeps the focus on the dogs as well.
Yeah, because I think as well, like if they had to give too much detail to the master, like I don't know, would it make you care more about him? The fact that you didn't see his face, like Shane's almost thinking like he's justified because you don't know what happened with the owners, previous owners. So he's trying to justify his actions, It's like if he was like a nicely drawn character, would then make the reader feel something for him?
I mean, yeah, you couldn't draw him like, if he looked like Klaus from Volume 1 of Klaus, if he was like this stupidly handsome man, that would be completely inappropriate for this book. So how am I supposed to hate him?
Yeah, that's true. And Connie says it's scarier not to see the villain.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
100%. Anything else on the art, or do you want to move on to our pages?
Yeah, let's show our pages.
Okay, great. So let's get onto the pages. We do have some from us. Pete's got one, and we've got a few sent in as well from other viewers. So let's just go in clockwise order, shall we? Pete, we'll start with you. Here we go.
It's
How
not
to heartbreak.
I'll give you. It's not the most exciting of pages, but this is directly after you see him taken outside and you hear the bang, and then the next page is that, and it broke my heart. It's again, like I say, for me, this entire book is about the emotional impact, and that page just crushed us because you know what's happened, and you see the grotesque side of it a few pages later on. But this just told you what that dog's gone, and I just loved it. I think it's simplistic. I just think I love it. I love everything about it.
I mean, poor Victor as well. He only had 3 paws. Yeah. He'd lost a paw in a fire, and no.
He thought he had a nice life after that, didn't he, in the fire department, and then he gets taken away. And
he was quite naive as well at the start of the story. He didn't really think about, like Rusty had all the burden of this new person coming in and having to believe her story, and other ones were involved where Victor was quite naive until it came to his turn to remember. So it was definitely a hard one. But Pete, if this is your favorite page, you're going to hate mine.
And I guess the only other thing I would say about the artwork and the pages, we mentioned it earlier there, but this series, I mean, it went mental. It did go crazy. But this series has got some phenomenal variant covers. I mean, there were just
100%.
tons. And I collected a fair few, but there's blank covers out there. There's all kinds of stuff. But some of them are absolutely amazing. Really, really good.
Yeah, I posted the movie variants on my Instagram. Yeah. The Silence of the Lambs and the Friday the 13th was great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's potentially upset Pete with Phil's pick.
God.
I just can't believe no one else picked it.
Why would we, Phil?
I was expecting every single one of you to have this page.
No.
But even down to the artwork, down to the missing little paw.
Yeah. It was. Don't get me wrong. I turned this page, and even though you're kind of like, for whenever the scene where he shot him behind the tool shed, you kind of actually he's dead, but you didn't expect to see that. You didn't expect to see his fur hanging and the skull at the side of the shed wall, whatever else. You just didn't expect that. So that was the first page. I thought, oh shit, you know what I mean? Like I was just like, like that was a tough one to take, and it was more for the dramatic impact is the reason why I picked it, and I just it was really good.
Makes a great point.
Connie makes a fantastic point. She says Phil doesn't like excessive gore in comics, but picks the pages with a skin dog.
Can I just say it's not a skin dog? It's just the fur. The skin. The dog isn't there anymore.
The skin of a dog.
Yeah, it's not the
that's
same
so
thing.
much better then.
Well, I mean, if we read Hotel and the guy who killed his wife skinned her and hung her up and her to dry, I'd pick that too.
I'd pick that page.
I wouldn't. Just to put it out there.
But the fact that Highland Deeds mentioned the punishment room, this is the other thing as well. That's where they went for punishment, and it's almost as if it's to say, like, whenever they were in that room for punishment, this is what you this is what could happen to you type of thing if you do mess about and misbehave. You know, it was like a threat. It wasn't punishment. He was threatening them in terms of like, look around you. There's other things here could do you damage. And yeah, it was it was the impact I went for. Not so much the art style or what you see. It was just like, wow, with this page.
Were you shocked when you? Because I know when I first read it, I kind of knew the dog was dead, but that's that initial turning of the page and seeing that.
Yeah,
you kind of was like,
that's me. You just assume the dog's dead and gone. You don't expect to see his, like the guy like playing with his corpse afterwards, But then obviously you realise that he's a hunter, so he has animal heads all throughout his house, and that makes sense. But yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you from the get go, from issue 1, you do get the kind of hints at what the owner is into, what the master's into, what he does in his spare time and as his hobby. So yeah, when you see it, you're not as shocked because you're like, oh, okay, fair enough. He does do that. I did know that, but you just don't expect it to be of a cute little Dalmatian dog. All right, moving on, Shane.
oh,
Yes, Imogen.
Yes, I'm Imogen. He's the master getting what's coming to him. Just absolutely fantastic, Earl bit his throat, ripped his throat out, and like, get in there and rip his head off, and then Imogen's like pushing him down the stairs, and now I'm like, go on, all the dogs, just get in there and eat him, just eat him.
Calm down.
No, I was like, no, they got him. I was like, he's down. When he dropped the gun as well, I was hoping the gun was gonna like shoot him in the face as well, like as it bounced down the stairs, and he was just gonna be a pool of blood on the floor, and the dogs were just gonna eat him, and it was gonna go the end, happy ending.
Your happy ending, my happy ending is very different.
The dogs did say he hadn't fed them since Victor.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, then they're going to eat him. Then he'll just be at the bottom of the stairs being eaten by the dogs. Hopefully he's still alive and feels every part of it. And then,
Jesus
this is taking a turn, isn't it?
It's a cool page. I think what I've noticed going through this, in the style it is, I don't think we can say that there are any artistically fantastic pages like we've seen, like amazing splash pages or anything like that. But they are all pages that seem to have had an impact. Like we've seen it and gone, like Phil's gone, oh shit, and Shane's gone, yeah, eat him. You know what I mean? And Pete, yours broke you, and the same as mine. This is the page where I shed a tear. Oh my god. This is where, what did you say his name was? Earl, yeah. This is on the last issue, and all the dogs finally escape the house from the master, and there's too many cars driving across the road, and I'm feeling funny just talking about it. And Earl, to stop the cars, just literally walks out in front of the cars to save the rest of the dogs. And then it's when they're all wooing at the end, at the bottom of the page.
So you're getting goosebumps, Scott. Stop.
I did. I cried.
There's an image before that, Scott, as well. I've got the book in front of me, where you see and again, we're talking about the detail of the imagery, I guess, where you see his face and the realization of what he's got to do. Mm-hmm. And as soon as you see his eyes, you just go, "Oh my god!" Because it's horrible.
That Earl for me was my favorite character in that he was at fault, I suppose, for Victor being, destroyed. Yeah. And then obviously this is his redemption straight away. It's like, I know what I have to do. You're right. That look in his eyes. I'm old. I caused this. I need to help. My friends, and walking through the traffic. Yeah. But I need to ask the question. I mean, if I'm driving down the street and there's a guy wielding a shotgun in the garden.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not just he'd fired it.
Yeah, but I'm not saying I would stop because obviously I don't get shot myself, but I'd at least pull over far enough away and phone the cops. You would do something, or you just run him over. I just think the fact that everyone's just oblivious to it. His car was just zooming on by, didn't think about this.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's nice. Connie has said, every time I see that kind of dog, I just think of the Fox and the Hound and just want to cry. Poor Earl. And Highland G as well. Especially right after the other one getting hurt, jumping through the window. Yeah, the female dog. Yes. I can't remember her name either.
Was it Roxanne?
I think so,
Roxanne,
yeah. And Past Point Comics is saying, though it is a tough subject, this is what makes indie books so great. Not bogged down with decades of history like the major comic book companies, but fresh new stories. Yeah, this is a 5-issue story, and by the sounds of it, everyone has been very invested and has taken something away. And Lee is saying, considering how quick a read this was, it was so impactful. 100%. Totally agree. Now, this is the bit I want to talk about, the story. This is the meat of it, As nice as the art was, this was the writing.
Do we not have any more pages?
Oh, we do! Yeah, alright, stand by. Let me get
Scott was giving me stick before the show by being professional and stuff. I don't forget things like this.
That's all right. I'm here. I'm here to keep everyone in order.
Okay, alright. I hear you, boys. Alright, okay, here we go. So this was picked by James and Connie, the last issue of Chapter 4. So James has said, with getting biblical, Earl felt a little like doubting Thomas. He was so loyal to Master and couldn't believe he was a killer until you see the story of him being taken as a puppy. The trophy cabinet of past dogs brings up very mixed feelings, but a great snapshot and a reveal page. Awesome, he says. And Connie has said as well, issue 4 was really the turning point for me in this series, kind of where it goes from good to, oh my god. The red colours really adds to the horror aspect of the story.
That's the image I was talking about, where you see the kind of the hurt in his eye. He's angry, he's pissed, but he's also, he's got a tear. Connie's just mentioned it. I hadn't really realised it till the second review. That's Victor's head as well, isn't it?
Corner, yeah.
You see, I noticed that, but what I didn't was till just there now. It looks like there's blood on some of the knives in the cabinet. So, is that fresh blood of Victor's, on the knives? If you show it again, you'll see some. It's just do you know what I mean? It's just you can see the knife there on the left hand side. There's fresh blood on it. Yeah. Is that that's even seeing that little detail thing of that is really, really sad. Yeah. And just like Connie, we're all going to need a minute. We need to compose ourselves.
Glad I've brought a little joy to your lives.
Yeah, we still have half an hour of a show to do here by crying.
Just in time for Thanksgiving. What I'm thankful for.
Kev has also sent a page in. Here's his page. He says, I really like the pacing of this page. I was actually scared for the dogs. I totally feel the same. When I read this page, my heart was going tugun, tugun, tugun. Also, that's what he said. He just likes the pacing, and he was scared for the dogs. That's what he says there.
Did we find out how? They dug out. I couldn't remember how they got out.
They dug themselves out.
I do have to say, the murderer guy, he doesn't have a name. Just the master, wasn't he? Didn't actually have a name. Yeah. He's quite dumb as a how to put this. Obviously he's a killer and he's got away with it for so long because he has 50 dogs over the years, so he's got away with it. But he's quite stupid in the fact that he's looking through. The hatch is open. He's looking through the dogs. They're going to be somewhere in there. They are. He sees this other hole and it's why doesn't he peer over a bit more? It's all coincidental that he's just happened to stop to shine the torch in that one bit that he did. Obviously, it's a story. He wouldn't get a story if he didn't do that. But I just think he was a bit stupid, a bit dumb, a bit slow, which is good because he deserves to, as Shane says, die a very painful, slow death.
Final page from the herd. Here is this one from Highland G. He very short and sweet. This is when everything gets real. This is for anyone listening on the podcast. This is when the master is just eating his cereal, looking at pictures of his previous victims, and all the dogs are just sitting around, just staring.
Can you show that again for me? Sorry. Is that a cut-up telephone on the table?
Yeah.
Because this is after the time the dogs tried to phone the fire brigade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah.
Little details. It's cool. I didn't notice that either. Yeah, that's cool. Right, so now this is the meat of it. This is where I want to get down into. I really want to get into the story. This is what makes it. So yes, Phil, what did you think?
Again, super quick, super breezy, but very, as Liam mentioned, very impactful. I feel like this kind of I'll remember this story. Even
like
though
the dogs.
Yeah, Yeah, exactly. This is the other thing I need to ask as well. Like, I'm not a dog person. Like, there are crazy dog people who bring their dogs to like the pub and bring them to the cafes and stuff like them kind of people. Do dogs have memory issues? Is this a thing where dogs have short-term memory where they do forget their owners very quickly? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming
Well,
it
they
is.
say like dogs don't know, like they don't have a time reference, so they don't know if you've been gone for 10 minutes or 10 years. That's why they're always so excited to see you when you come back into a room.
But they'll still
Even if
always
you just pop
remember
to the
you.
loo and come.
Yeah.
Well, they remember
Well,
you.
Yeah,
They remember
like
you as their person.
so my dad has got two Shih Tzus. Like they're only like 6 years old, and I was like living with my parents when they first got them, but now I only see them like every month or
Yeah.
so. But there's always like this little period of who are you, and then they get like a good sniff of me, or they hear me, and then go, oh my god, it's you, and then and then it seems to just kick in. So I kind of get the short term memory kind of thing.
Sorry, when I first read this, I wasn't sure about. I hadn't heard that before, so I did a quick Google thing. I think it's called situational memory or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
Where basically they remember scents and sounds and things, but they don't necessarily remember the context of it. So it's not like a linear memory like ours. They'll remember that if you shake a tin, that means food, but not necessarily why or anything or the story around it.
Right.
So that kind of thing.
Okay.
How the hell they know that? I don't know. How they've.
Well, I was
Maybe if I shake a tin, will you remember?
Yeah.
Just ask. They just got a bunch of dogs in the room and said, "Do you remember me?" They went, "No." I went, "All right, mark it down."
The reason why I said that too, like Scott says there, with your dad's dogs, like again, I lived with my parents. They had a wee Yorkie called Scrappy, R.I.P. Scrappy, and didn't see him for like a month in between. But then when you go to the house, like he knew it was you. And he would run towards you, whatever else,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
he knew it was me. I loved
Yeah.
that. But like it's like a whole like month, whatever, before you see him again. Type of thing.
Yeah.
So, would you have thrown him into a crocodile if you were being chased by one?
Scrappy, yes. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I love him. Like he was a brilliant dog, fantastic companion, whatever. But like, if I'm being chased by an alligator and I'm about to be eaten, if I could slow the alligator down by even a few seconds for me to get away,
How fast are alligators? Could you not?
Not very, yeah, but Phil's probably not fast
I'm not very
either, is
it? Speaking of the memory, I found. Well, I hope I'm right in thinking that the memory aspect of this whole book is the driving force of the whole story. You know why? You know it's a good concept to use, isn't it? To have the kind of drip feeding of clues of why the dogs are there, who the master is, what he's been doing. I thought it was very clever.
Well, that was the main thing. Like you're saying, to kind of get Victor into the story, to get Earl into the story, you had to have their memories kind of come back to them. And obviously with Sophie, her memory only came back because she was cold, and I used her lady's scarf to keep her warm type of thing. And straight away, like you were mentioning earlier on, the sniff, the smell, like that's what kind of brought that memory back. And again, they needed that kind of aspect to have those memory. What's the word? Regain again, so they could fall through. It was good. It was clever.
Yeah, and it
clever,
was just
simple and done really well.
Exactly, and it was just so like sad to see all of these like flashbacks to all of these dogs went through. You had the scarf, you had the pictures, you had the fire woman, and stuff like that, and and Earl, how how he was adopted, let's say. I don't know what to say. It's so awkward.
Dog napped.
Dog napped. Yeah, I guess so. But yeah,
can I just say as well, to be fair, the master, like Earl said, he was good to the dogs. Like up to a certain point, he was good to the dogs, And as for the previous lot of dogs that he had the heads in the cupboard, obviously he wasn't so good to them.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Maybe the same thing happened. Like they started to remember things, and then like the punishments came. He'd done that, but generally speaking, with those set of dogs at the start of the story, he was good to them, fed them. They liked him. They were loyal to him, and that's obviously a good thing too, because obviously Earl had that loyalty towards the master. It's like in human terms, it'd be like Stockholm syndrome type of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I was just like, as soon as I saw Imogen, this massive big bear of a dog, I was like, at first I thought maybe she was his like original dog and was watching all the other dogs to keep them in line.
That's
She didn't
what I
do
thought.
anything.
Yeah.
I thought she was just like the guard dog, and she was going to be secretly like a naughty dog as well. But I was quite happy when she turned out to be.
You knew she was going to have a part to play. And just thinking about this, the art as well. There's really funny. Like, obviously, she was a big dog, but like whenever at the end, when all the dogs were outside, and Imogen was just in the upper floor window, like looking out, she couldn't even go down.
She couldn't fit for the no, she couldn't fit for the doggy dog, could she?
And actually, I want to give
forever.
I want to give a credence as well for the police K9 dog. He was so cool for such a small role. He was brilliant. Like asking,
Yes,
"Are you okay?"
Kept him calm and just like, don't worry, I'm here now. You're
Oh,
safe.
yeah. So
Where are the
cool.
bodies? I'm on it, boys.
Yeah.
He was cool.
Yeah.
I want a comic of him, the canine adventures of Detective Dog.
There's a live action movie of that. If I forget the name now. Is it called
K9?
K9?
K9,
K9. There you go.
Yeah.
Like, there are spin-offs now of Stray Dogs, isn't there? Isn't there one? There's one called Dog Days. Is that like a one-off, or is that like another 5-issue story?
I think it was a one-off, and I think they did a follow-on. But you wouldn't be surprised. I've got the first issue of it, but I've not read it, and I've kind of resisted reading it because this, to me, is a perfect contained story. I don't think I want to know much more about the world and things like that because I don't know how you contain. So this, for me, is a one-story read. I don't necessarily want to know the rest of it.
Yeah.
And I've heard mixed things about Dog Days.
Is it? You said that then, and Klaus came to my head straight away, as in, great first story, and it kind of dipped after that. So I know what you mean. So just don't read it.
Yeah.
This is
Oh, there we
You've
go.
got
Here we go.
memories of this.
We've
And
got,
you don't want your memories tainted of such a good story.
Exactly. So we've got James saying Dog Days gives even more context to the story and fills out the arc.
Yeah,
2 issues and they follow the same story. And then Highland G says, don't read the spin-offs. They are just filler on each dog.
Yeah.
See, this is one of my criticisms for the whole thing, and it's not really a criticism of the writing or the story. I think it's just like it is limited. There's no doubt that this is a limited story. You can't possibly branch out, because I think even if they started to kind of introduce not so much more characters but different things in the little doggy world, you would just, it's not the same. Like, this is what it is. It's like the movie Grease. You have the cast, they make the movie. Grease 2 sucks because they don't have the same cast. It's the same thing in this story. You can't change what is here.
I think you're absolutely right, Phil, but I've come to the realization, and I don't want to get into it, but with the Marvel Universe and things like that, that actually there's nothing wrong with a standalone story. We don't need everything to connect to 15,000 other titles. I'm perfectly happy with a 5-issue. Let's look at Watchmen, for example. It's a masterpiece. We don't want more Watchmen. Stop trying to give more Watchmen. Do you know what I mean? Just leave it be. And that for me is the same as this. I'm happy with the story.
I'm sure Alan Moore's loving the fact that you compared Stray Dogs to Watchmen.
Absolutely. I've heard he's a big fan. I've heard he's a big fan. Of mine, I mean. Yeah.
Of yours, of course. Pacing of the story, I thought was brilliant, even though it was in 5 issues. And even though it was a quick read, it's a horror. So I believe that horrors should be a quick read. Like, to keep up that pace and like the adrenaline of some of the moments, like the page that Kev showed where Roxanne is digging that hole, and it is very like time sensitive, isn't it? Like trying to get it all done as quick as they can. And I felt the same as Kev, just heart pounding, like, come on, get out, what are you doing?
Did you feel your anxiety increasing as you got into the book more and more?
Yes,
I did.
Definitely.
But see, that's the thing, like, you definitely would not care as much if this was a group of humans thrown into this situation. Okay, you have to learn about the humans to know if you are going to care about them. As soon as you see a dog, that's it. You don't want anything to happen to that dog. You don't need to know its backstory. You don't need to know anything about it. So you instantly care, and you instantly are on edge every time the master is coming home, every time they're doing something they shouldn't.
Yeah.
So it's like this forced, like the writer knows what he's doing. He is forcing you to the edge of your seat on purpose, and you don't have a say in it because this isn't a relaxing read.
I'm there for the ride, to be honest. And you know what? I'm really happy. I had no idea what this book was about. Mm-hmm. Like, all I knew was it was about dogs. I didn't even, like, I knew you had the horror variant covers, but I didn't even explicitly know that it was a horror book. I just thought it was going to be like a very interesting story about dogs, and I was so pleased that I didn't know anything about it, and I'm just really surprised and happy with the story that I got, even as, slightly traumatic and heart-wrenching as it is. It's a great story.
Yeah, but because nowadays there are so many variants for comics that go beyond the genre that comic is.
Yeah.
So those horror variants could have had nothing to do with it.
No.
So I didn't even know. All I knew is there was I've only ever seen the Silence of the Lambs cover, and I just assumed it was a homage, like those Do You Poo covers, the Winnie the Pooh homages. So I just thought it was a nice homage. So I didn't know this was going to be a horror book about dead dogs and serial killers. Thanks, Pete, again.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
To be fair, you're 100% correct. Like I had heard, whenever there was hype about this book, that there was an element of sadness to what happens to the dogs, but I didn't expect at all a serial killer. Do you know what I mean? You maybe expect like an actual dog. Like my name here is All Dogs Go to Heaven. I'm sure we've all seen that cartoon. Scott, I know, was that before your time? Surely you've seen that, All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Nope.
Oh dear, you need to watch it. But it's a story. It's like a dog world story. I was expecting this to be like in some sort of dog world, where this is literally obviously it is, but like it's a serial killer, like a human serial killer. Like, no, who's seen this coming? If you picked up issue 1 from this in the shop and hadn't read a synopsis, you'd be amazed to see that this is actually about human serial killers and the dogs. And on what Shane said as well, but you instantly care for the dog. The dogs are vulnerable. They can't do anything. They don't have opposing thumbs. They can't fight the guy. Obviously they did, but they can't fit it in the way that we would think. They can't phone the police. They tried. It doesn't happen. So they're completely vulnerable. It's just they're
For the
stuck.
good people.
Yeah.
Oh,
Phone the good
you're going to make me cry. You need to stop.
One day, we'll get you crying live.
No, don't like it. I don't like it. I have a question. How many of the breeds can you name? Did you name all the breeds in the book? 'Cause I was going through, and as I was writing my list, I was like, that looks like, and I've listed all the breeds that I think they are.
Right, so
I'm
what
not
we
a
got
dog
there?
person, so I have no idea.
So Victor's not there. And neither
Oh
is,
dear,
and
don't remind
neither
us.
is Imogen. For me, Poodle's there.
Poodle, yes. One of the Henrys is a poodle.
Is Sophie a Chihuahua?
No, Sophie is a Papillion.
No idea what that is. Earl, is he some sort of he's like a hound, isn't he? Like
Yes, Bloodhound, yeah.
Bloodhound. And that's it. Roxanne, she a husky? A pug? There's a pug there as well.
Yes, Killer is a pug.
And
See,
what
little
the hell
Killer
is that
like
dog
he's
that
a
looks like a
pug.
gremlin?
Yeah, the grey one. Yeah. I'm not a dog person. I just call them dogs.
Gucci.
Just dogs.
The Gucci. Gucci's a Chinese crested. He's
Wow.
Just
He
Gucci's its
looks like a
name, though.
gremlin.
Gucci's its name, isn't it?
Gucci. Yeah, Gucci's his name.
So it's
So you've
breeds
got
also Gucci?
no. His
Wow.
name is Gucci. He's a Chinese crested. So
Oh,
you've got
okay.
Sophie's a Papillion. She's a yellow Papillion. Rusty's a shepherd. Victor's a three-legged Dalmatian, obviously. Gucci's a Chinese crested. One of the Henrys is a bull terrier. The other is a poodle. Aldo, he's a mixed breed. I think he kind of looked like a beagle, but he's more of a mixed breed. Roxanne is an Alaskan Malamute.
Oh, okay.
So
Ah,
kind
yes,
of
them.
like in the husky family.
Yeah.
Killer's a pug. Imogen's a mastiff, and Earl's a bloodhound. I like my dog breeds that I was going through, just like
Nice. Nice. And
Nice
Phil
old
just
dogs.
goes,
Shane's fun
dog,
fact
dog,
for the
dog.
week. Dog,
Yay. So,
dog
stat
one,
Shane.
dog
Yeah.
Did you do the breeds for the ones that were mounted on the wall as well?
Oh,
I know.
dear.
Just asking.
Oh my god. Shane needs his own trigger warning, like. Oh my god. Let's go to the comments for a bit. So we had earlier on Pete agreed with you. Highland G agreed with you, Pete, about the fact that it's a standalone book and you don't want it expanded, and it's great. Mark also agrees. It's a standalone story. Hamlet doesn't have a sequel.
No, but it has a cigar. Sorry.
That was the worst pun we've had so far.
I know.
Well, we haven't had one this week.
And in terms of the spoiling and stuff, Highland Gia says, I'm glad people in general are not spoiling this for others. It's so much better the less you know going in.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And I love that. And Mark is saying it was just a great idea for a story and well told. This year's version is 8 billion genies. This is a story I need to read as well, 8 billion genies. So when that comes out in trade, someone picks it, we'll read it. Yeah, can't wait for that. Oh yeah, Highland G says, did you notice the master never calls the dogs by their names?
I didn't.
Did he know their names?
I think he's
He
flirting,
does.
like the
He
owners,
says
he would.
he does call their names. When Victor rubs his head against him, he says, Victor, no. When he's leading him out to the shed.
But to be fair, I don't think he refers to that. I mean, it's that one, but he doesn't refer to all of them, certainly. And Earl, obviously. And Imogen, absolutely. Image of Imogen
He
as
does,
well.
yeah. There's loads of them. He calls-
Shouts Imogen, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe he knows a
Rusty,
few then.
I think he knows all of them.
But it's probably one of those things that there's
doesn't
so
he?
many
Follows
of
the
them,
women.
he doesn't know them all because there's so many of them. Like, I'd forget their names. I do forget their names now.
We do
And
that.
Shane,
every week.
Shane just mentioned them 2 seconds ago and I forget what their names are.
I gave you their names and their breeds, Phil.
Wow.
What more can I do?
Yeah. Okay, maybe he's not quite right there because Connie also brings up, when they're missing for dinner, he asks for Rusty and Roxanne. Yeah, okay, never mind. Is there anything else anyone else wants to bring up?
How great was it when at the end, when the cars all crash and that woman staggers out and the dogs are trying to save her and the master takes his hand off his throat and the blood gushes out and he drops dead. It was awesome. The end.
To be fair, that was
My
good.
favourite part.
The fact that he died by Earl's hand, by Earl, it was Earl's bite, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
was like justice done type of thing. So Earl not only saved all the dogs, he might have killed a few humans in a car crash, but he saved all the dogs and obviously killed the guy who needed to die.
And I mean, I read that as he realised that he was screwed. So he just took his hand off and let himself down.
Yeah. There's no helping me. And even if he does get saved, he'll probably go to prison.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they were going to find the bodies, weren't they? No matter what, and everything in the house. But I just love that the dogs trying to get away still stop to try and save the woman.
Yeah.
Trying to save the lady.
Yeah.
They're like, no lady, danger, danger. And it was like,
But then all you see is bark, 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 bark.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Yeah, it's
yeah.
and I kind of saw myself like, even though we were reading what the dogs were saying, I was now and again I was coming out in that kind of like outsider looking in perspective and just seeing these dogs just barking at each other to talk like.
I thought you were saying you tried to translate what the dogs were barking, what they were saying.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of the writing, I agree it's a simple story. It's a very, it's kind of, but I don't know. I've like you guys, I've read a lot of comics over the years, and I don't know if it's like Shane said, because it's animals, but I cared more about the animals and the dogs than I cared more about Victor than comic book characters I've been reading for 20 years. Do you know what I mean? And that's got to be something to do with the strength of the way they've framed the story and told the story to make you actually care and be interested in what happens.
It is like it is a complex story overall, but the writing, like the dialogue, is so simple because dogs, their vocabulary I don't imagine is very large. But it's very clever. Like, if you're someone writing comics and your vocabulary isn't great, then maybe try writing for dogs. You know what I mean? Writing as a dog. And then, you may get a story like this. And it's, I've never read
the writer's vocabulary.
No, this is what I've just realised. I've never read anything else by Tony FLEECS. But the fact, he doesn't just write the dialogue. He's written the whole scenarios. Obviously, he's got a good head on him. Yeah. And he's written a complicated, intriguing, interesting story. But the fact that it is simplistic dialogue, it draws you in, and definitely the fact that it's dogs, it draws you in, makes you care, makes you feel, and want safety for these dogs as well.
That's because the dogs are so loyal, even though the fact that he's not the original owner of the dogs or their people, they're so loyal to him that they would never suspect he would really hurt them, and that's what you us as the reader, that's what the writer's doing. He's making us see that this guy is dangerous. He can't harm them, and these dogs are naive because they don't realize until they do. It's almost too late for. Well, it is definitely late for wee Victor. And it's just it's sad, but like I say, Earl getting revenge was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Good boy.
He's right for the throat, doesn't he? Like he doesn't go for the leg or like straight for the
Straight
throat.
for the jugular. Yeah.
Good dog.
Scott just reminded me of the book we read before. What was that dog?
Dead
what
by
was that?
Winter.
Dead by Winter, and the dog was the star of that show as well. You know,
Yeah.
Sparky? Is it Sparky or something? Sparkles?
it was Sparky, wasn't it?
so,
It was,
yeah.
yeah.
We're all really bad at remembering names, so thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Highland G has said it's all very real moments in this book. Nothing is comic book spectacular.
Yeah.
I think that hits home more as it's relatable. Totally. 100%.
Can you imagine if this was cats? Like how sarcastic the cats would be. I mean, the cats would be more evil than the master, wouldn't they?
I'd be rooting for the
Oh,
serial
yeah.
killer in that book, if I'm being brutally honest. It's just,
He would have been dead page 1. They'd have killed him straight away, and it would have then been about serial killer cats by the end of it.
don't trust cats.
I'd read that.
Yeah.
You can never trust a cat.
No.
Never trust a cat. I've got 3 of them. I don't trust any of them. I sleep with one eye open.
All the time. Right. Are you ready for your final thoughts and scores? Yeah. Great. So there we go, everyone. If you've read along with the book this week, do give us your score. We'll add it to ours, and we'll get a big average, and we'll see where it comes on the leaderboard. Where will it be on the top 10? But yes, Pete, thanks again for picking this book. It was a pleasure to read. But no, I mean it. Like traumatic, but
Scarring. Yeah.
yeah, it'll definitely leave a mark, won't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, Pete, would you please mind kicking us off with your final thoughts and scores, please?
Yeah, sure. So, like I said, I've read, much like you guys, a lot of comics, and this for me was totally different. I've not read anything like this before, and for me, it was the emotional impact it had. I couldn't put it down. It's not very often I can just blast through a 5-issue series without taking a breather. I kind of felt I had to keep going, even though I was scared to see what was coming next, and I didn't want to see what was coming next, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's the big emotional impact of it. It's the fact that I connected with the dogs, the characters. It actually affected us when I was reading it, which is something I don't get from Marvel and DC these days. I don't care what the latest crossover event is. I don't have that emotional connection. Whereas with this, I really did. I was genuinely worried about them. And I guess the only other thing I would say is I got this maybe last Christmas or the Christmas before, and read it, like I say, there and then. And I reread it, obviously, for the show, and it had just the same impact. It was just as beautiful a story. It was just as heartbreaking. So for me, it's a perfectly contained little book that will sit on my shelf, and I'll probably read every now and then when I feel like a good bubble. So yeah, I just love it. Absolutely love it.
Great. Out of 10?
I'm going to give it a 9.
9. Perfect. Thank you so much. Philip, over to you.
Clever yet simple, and I think Liam mentioned it in the comments earlier on. A quick read but impactful. I think obviously that's the only way you really choose to describe it. Like, it definitely evokes emotion. You definitely feel for the characters. As we discussed, when you turn certain pages, the impact those pages present to you, it's just like, oof, this is a bit rough. Art-wise, again, it was nice, it was lovely, but nothing outstanding, but nothing bad really to say about it. I don't know. I feel like it's still limited. So my score I'm giving it for what it is will be a 10 out of 10 for it. But overall, in terms of comic books, I think it's limited because I can't score it higher than certain books. I just can't. I can't bring myself to score higher. Even what I'm about to give it is higher than what I give Kingdom Come, and it just feels quite odd. You know what I mean to say that. Exactly. So I'm giving this an 8 out of 10. because I think it's limited. However, that 8 out of 10 feels like a 10 out of 10 for this book. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? But it's 8 as my score for the purpose of the nerd.
So a 10?
8.
Not 9?
8. 8.
10. That's a spiritual 10.
Yeah.
Because I can't bring myself to score it more, and I don't know why. I don't know what's holding me back. It's just, it's not funny buggers either. It's just, I can't score this higher than books have scored in the past. You know.
Fair enough. Okay, Shane.
I want to say I love this book, but I don't want to use the word love because that's the wrong kind of word to use for this book.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever the appropriate word is, I can't think of it, but this book, it was really good. I love a contained story. Like how many times do I say I want a start, a middle, and an end to a story? I don't ask for much. That's all I want, and I got it. Super happy. I love that it's so confined to this one house. Like the story is this, it's what happens in this house with the dogs, and I love that. I love all the dogs. The art, I am really, at first I was a bit like, oh, it's a bit too Disney-esque for mature, themes. But then I was so grateful because had it been a more realistic art style and I saw Victor walking out to the... Yeah, let's not go there. I wouldn't have managed the next issue after that. So I'm grateful that the art was giving me just enough reprieve from the story so I could separate reality from an enjoyable story. But yeah, I thought this was fantastic, and I would have read this. I'm glad I've been told not to read the other books because I enjoyed this so much. I would have picked them up, but now I'm not going to touch them because I want this to be contained. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10 because this was fantastic. Again, not fantastic. I don't mean that. I mean the appropriate word. No good words for hurting dogs. The opposite.
At least when you say fantastic this time around, unlike Hotel, you're not drooling the prospect. This is fantastic. You know what this is. You're happy with it, but you're not happy at the same time. You're not cheering the death of these characters.
No, absolutely not. The only character's death I was cheering was the Masters at the end.
Good. Thank you very much for everyone's scores. You just got a few more seconds until we're done with that, and then we'll count them all up. But what did I think? The face of it, if you just looked at this book, you're thinking, oh, it's quite a simple story. Like maybe I don't want to read this. Maybe it's not intelligent enough for me. But then when you actually read it and actually go through it and see how complicated and complex and interesting and intriguing, and this literally drip feeds you into this situation in such a natural and organic way. I was hooked. I was so interested to see what happens to the dogs and how the memory comes into play with it all. And the fact that the art was very cutesy and nice, it makes things less triggering, but then it makes all the dark parts, I think, have more of an impact because you expect cute things to be a nice story, not skin hanging from a hook. And I think it was a brilliant choice as well to use dogs in this story. But yeah, if anyone is looking for a slightly messed up story with cute looking dogs, then this is definitely for you. But this will definitely stick with me. It may even be a book I recommend.
Ideal Valentine's Day present.
100%.
I mean, he'll put you on a list, but
I felt anxiety, I felt intrigue, and I cried. I mean, for a horror book to do that, I think is an absolute feat. For me, this is a 9.5.
Nice.
Right, there we go. So we've got. Oh, we also had a score sent in from Martin because he's away at the moment. So he has read the book. He wanted to send us a score, and he has said, "This was a surprising read. It started very light-hearted and then gradually got darker. This would be a great R-rated Disney movie. I'd like to own this in a hardcover, and it's going to be an 8 out of 10 from me." So there we go. Thank you very much, Martin. But yes, so let me just do the maths here. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'll do that in a minute. Let's just read through the scores, okay? So, Connie, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10, to be honest. Good story, fast-paced read. I have no massive critiques for this one, if I'm honest. Great, thank you very much. James, loved it. Swift read, but great and impactful. Emotional, 8.5. Highland G, great read. One complete story with amazing art. 9 out of 10. Liam, I love this. Quick, impactful. What else is there to say? 9 out of 10. And Mark as well, 9. Great storytelling, connects with the readers at an emotional level. One of the best comics of 2001.
Everyone's on the same page there, isn't they?
That is great. Yeah, 100%.
He has picked a book with no one scoring low, no one having a go at anyone for their opinion. Like, he's picked an actual book that everyone agrees on. We can't even do that, and we've been doing this for 2 years.
So, all the scores are in. So, thank you very much for everyone who's given us a score. So, all of your scores in the chat and Pete's, you come to an average of 8.8. Adding that to Phil's 8, Shane's 9, and my 9.5 gives us a total of 8.8.
Very good.
There we go. So, where does it go on the leaderboard? Let's show you.
Straight
number
in.
1. Straight into number 1.
Full
Pete,
point ahead.
how do you feel about
whole
that? Yeah, you
wow.
are a whole
Impressive.
point ahead of self-storage, which was the previous Hood's choice as well.
Yeah, we're doing great this season.
Yeah, we're picking really great books. But yes, thank you very much, Pete. It's been a pleasure to have you. Lovely to see you, and thank you for picking such a cool book.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Next time, less dog murder in your
Less dog murder. Yeah, we'll go for cats. Can I just say, whilst I've got the opportunity, can I give a massive thank you to you guys, because I've been watching your channel since I started on YouTube 18 months ago or something. And a lot of my favourite reads now, a lot of the stuff that I've collected, is based on your choices and the reviews you've done. So I think you do a fantastic job. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Pete. Very kind of you. Yeah, if Shane hasn't cried yet, he definitely is now. Thank you so much. Before we go, we need to tell you what we've got coming up from Kev tomorrow on his draw-alongs, and this week he will be showing you how to draw a face. So he's taking it back. He's taking it back a notch. He's not going for art styles anymore for this episode. He's just going nice and simple, how to draw a face.
Do you think that's because
I'm
we read
gonna
a few
tag-
books this year that don't have faces and we've complained about it? So he's gone, "I'll show
I'm
them
going
how
to
to
tag
draw a face."
so many artists in
Yeah.
that. Here you go, boys.
Wow. But yeah, there we go. Thank you very much. So that is on tomorrow at 7 p.m. as usual, so give that a watch. But that's it. The only thing we've got left to do now is get your waves out.
What's next week?
Oh, yeah.
He tricked
Right.
us. He got us waving.
Gotcha. Here's what we got coming up next week. It's going to be a good one. There we go. Philip, what are we talking about? It's your pick.
So this is the first pick of our Christmas, our festive, cheery reads, and it's a Naughty List from earlier this year. Weirdly, came out in the summer and not like Christmas time, but yeah, it's Naughty List from Aftershock Comics next week.
There we go. So that's what we got to look forward to next week. Same time as usual, same place as usual, and we've just got one less handsome man with us. So it'll just
I'm
be
here
the
next
three
week.
of us. Oh yeah, fair enough. Okay, right. Now, get your waves out. Bye everyone, see ya.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.